all the weeks have built up, all of the early mornings, all of the planning your training, those nerves, that little bit of anxiety, race day is here. Race morning will be an exciting time. For some of you, it'll probably be a slightly nerve-wracking time. Try not to panic. The work is done. You've done the hard work in training. Today is about making good decisions and about making sure you remain as confident as you possibly can in your strategy. It's really common in the last week or two before the race day to start to question whether you're ready. It's really common to meet people at your local running club or perhaps at a race and hear that they've done training that you haven't. Well, you know what? We're all individuals, and the reality is most of us don't have a perfect marathon training plan or a perfect marathon build-up. We will always miss stuff. Life will always get in the way. Niggles happen, colds happen, or life happens and we end up having to miss things, and that's okay. Be really positive about what you've done, what you've achieved. There's always things you can look back on that haven't gone so well. That's normal, that's life. We need to get as many things mentally in your favour as possible. You know what I'd say on race morning, remember a lot of the feelings, that little bit of nervousness, that anxiety. Remember part of that is you feeling excited. Have a good race breakfast, but it should be foods that you've practiced in your training. And aim to have that perhaps 2 to 3 hours before the gun goes. Don't at this stage be doing anything dramatically different just because it's race day. If you know that you've got a bit of a journey to the race start, you might want to take some additional food to just bridge that gap between when you finish breakfast and when you're going to start the race, and your logistics in advance. What train are you going to get? What's the parking like? How am I going to get there on foot without fatiguing myself too much? Plan it all out in advance and then give yourself plenty of time. And definitely arrive at the race a good 60 to 75 minutes as a minimum before the gun is due to go. That will allow you to take things slowly, to not panic, to not feel stressed, to use the toilet, to get your bag in and anything else you might need to do without rushing. Because the key before the race is to preserve energy as much as you possibly can, to stay calm. There's going to be a buzz and excitement in the air. The music will be pumping. Lots of other runners will be talking about their training, what they've done, what they haven't done. You won't necessarily have done what other people have done. Put a bubble around yourself. Know what's worked for you. Look back on those 2, 3, 4 key runs in your training that went really well. What are some of the other things you changed about your life that have resulted in you arriving at race day feeling really confident and really strong? Get your pen nice and early, feel nice and organised. Don't get stressed about the other voices around you. Do your thing. You don't need a big warm-up before running a marathon. A little bit of light jogging for a few minutes just to turn your legs over and just feel like a runner might be useful to you, but a big, high-intensity, extended warm-up, not useful. You've got 26.2 miles to ease your way into the race. The gun's going to go, and if you're in a big major race like the London Marathon, it might be a good few minutes before you're actually crossing the line and starting running. If you're in a smaller race, the gun's going to go, and you're into your first few kilometres of the race. And the key here is to remember, you've had a taper, you've got loads of adrenaline rushing through the system, and the likelihood is you haven't run 26.2 miles in your training. So we're asking our body to do something a little bit more than we've done in our training on race day. What that means is the first few miles, your body is going to want to really push you forward, but you're going to have to constrain the pace that you run. And it's the hardest thing at times to do. Calm. All of that nerve, all of those anxieties are going to start to settle as soon as you cross the line and start to move into your running. The early miles in the race, you're going to need to be really patient. You've got all of this stored energy, all of this adrenaline, and the way that plays out for many runners is running the first 3, 4, 5, 6 miles a little bit too quick. A really, really good way to think about race day is perhaps to start the first 5 to 10 kilometres almost a little bit slower than your planned race pace. And that's a hard one to get your head around because you'll be probably thinking, well, I should probably try and bank time early on when I'm feeling energized. Banking time early in a marathon does not work. I can tell you that right now. It will pay you back doubly in the second half if you go out too hard, too early in the race. So be patient, build slowly into the race, stick to your nutrition plan. Nutrition on race day should be something that you practiced in your key long runs. You might be looking to gels, to energy drinks, carbohydrates to top up your energy levels as you move through the race. What that looks like for you needs to be based upon what you practice. For some people it might be 30 to 40, 50, even 60 grams of carbohydrates an hour. The key is to get it in from the start. You need to be spacing your fueling out evenly throughout the whole race, and really never letting more than 20, perhaps 30 minutes maximum go by without topping up your energy stores. So as you've moved safely through the first 5 kilometres, first 10 kilometres, it is very, very tempting to allow your paces to gradually increase and to get a bit carried away. So be controlled. If you've got a really clear idea around the time you want to run and the pace you want to run on race day, don't go quicker than that pace. Perhaps even go 5 to 10 seconds a mile, a little bit slower than that. Conserve your energy. It will mean that people are running away from you. That's fine. You'll probably see them later on. If you've got in your mind that you're going to be running and walking on race day, my top tip is going to be work to a planned running and walking strategy from the start of the race. So have a plan in your mind. It might be running for a minute, walking for 30 seconds. It might be walking for 30 seconds, running for 30 seconds. It might be running for 5 minutes, walking for 2 minutes. But have your plan. As you move into the second 10K, you should be into your running by now. And if you've got a really clear idea around the pace that you want to run on race day, we're probably on that now. This is the bit of the race, the middle 20K, where you're going to need to be really disciplined on your race strategy. And it's about trying to preserve energy as much as you possibly can. If you've got a good group around you, settle in with that group. Obviously making sure they're not running too quick for you. Don't obsess about your watch every single mile. Stay calm, try to relax, check your running posture, your running form. Are you running with a nice rhythm? Are you in control? Are you relaxed? And are you sticking to your fueling strategy? Certainly what we have to do is transport ourselves safely to 30 to 32K. And whilst halfway, a marathon obviously comes at 13.1 miles, halfway in terms of the demands on you and the energy you're going to have to put in really comes at about 30 to 32 kilometres. And you need to be prepared with some mental strategies and some things that you're going to do to help you through that last 10 to 12 kilometres. It might be a race that you did in the build-up. It might be something you've done around with your strength and conditioning or your nutrition or your sleep that has really improved your fitness and your well-being. It might be a long run or an interval session that you really felt that you nailed. Write them down. And those are going to be your key tools on race day and the day before. When you start to get a little bit worried, go back to the things that have gone well. And that last 10 to 12K is going to require an exponential increase. Don't fear it. Don't fear a wall in the race. There isn't a wall in a marathon. The wall is created by not fueling adequately and not pacing well. So make sure that if you've got those things right, you can arrive at that last 10 to 12K ready to throw the kitchen sink at your marathon. But of course, the marathon's going to get tough in that last 10 to 12K. That's what you're doing it for. That's why you've embraced the challenge. That's why you'll cross the line, put your fist in the air and tell yourself a marathon run, because you deserve it, because of the work you will need to do in that last 10 to 12K. Perhaps you might dedicate each one of the last few miles to somebody important in your life. Perhaps you're going to focus on your running technique, your running form. Are you standing nice and tall? Is your chest still open? What's your leg speed like? Perhaps you're a competitive person, so you're going to look at a runner down the road and try and pull them in. And then focus on the next one and pull them in. Perhaps you know that there are going to be family members or supporters out on bits of the course. But whatever you do, focus on the mile you're in. Don't get caught up with how far you still have to go. Focus on running the mile you're in, a kilometre you're in, however you do it, as well as you possibly can. And remember that the challenge that the last 10 to 12K of the marathon throws at you is why we do it. That's why you're here. That's what will make you a marathon runner. And that's why when you cross the line, that medal and those memories will be so precious. Marathon day, yes, it's something that requires respect, but you can do it. You can cross the finishing line because it means something to you. And likelihood is for most people running a marathon, they will be doing it for somebody important in their life or for a cause that they believe in, or because they're driven to higher levels of performance because that's what motivates them. So enjoy race day, fuel it well, pace it well, and you will have a brilliant